I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, here with Daniel Radcliffe, star of Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. First of all, Daniel, as the awards nerds at Gold Derby, I have to congratulate you on winning the Critics' Choice Award for this role. Congratulations, that's really cool.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was I mean, totally unexpected as all of this sort of stuff has been, but delightful and yeah, really, really exciting.
My sense from reading some of the rave reviews actually of the show and of your performance is that people just really got into the whole meta aspect of the film, and you just seem to be, you just went to 11 out of 10 in terms of trying to capture the spirit of Weird. What's how do you feel about the feedback that you're receiving for your performance in the film?
I mean, it's always so rewarding when you make something and you love it, and then the amount of, and like, because the whole experience of shooting this movie was so special and fun, and for then to put that out into the world and for it kind of to inspire the same feeling in the people that watch it, and the same sort of reactions is yeah, it doesn't really, you can't really ask for anything more than that as an actor or a performer. So yeah, it's the reactions the film's gotten have been amazing. That I get really, really nervous watching myself, so I didn't watch the first few screenings of it when it was at festivals, and but eventually I did, and like being in the room for it, particularly like, I mean, the first audience we had, which I didn't watch with, was in Toronto, and it was like a very, like, it was a lot of Al fans as well. I feel like that was a moment when you saw that, like, those guys were all like getting the joke and loving it. And oh, I'm so sorry, I will mute my computer and I will say that last bit again if that's of any use.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry to do that. But yeah, so like yeah, being like, once we had, like, when I sort of was like, okay, we seem to be going down really well with the like hardcore Weird Al fans, that was the moment when I was like, okay, I think this film is going to really find its audience, and it did, and then kind of even more, which is lovely.
Oh yeah, this is what I loved so much about it, and this is what I wasn't actually expecting, because I went into it kind of cold because I was a fan of his as a kid. But just like his songs, the film is so smart because it's a parody of a musical biopic. It feels like a parody, but there's still some truth in it, in that journey, and it had to be told that way. There's no other way to do a Weird Al Yankovic story. It's so meta. I love that. What did you think
Yeah.
about the way the script was structured?
100%. Like, as soon as I started reading the script, and I got, like, my initial reaction obviously on hearing that they were asking me to play Al was like, because I was, a fan of Al at that point, was like, that's very cool, but like, I am not physically the first person that I would think of to play him and stuff. And then I started reading the script, and I like saw what the joke was and what they were doing in parodying the whole kind of genre. And yeah, as soon as I realized that, and it was, as you say, it's so well executed and like thoroughly explored the premise of like what we are parodying and finding. But there are also, like, as in, musical biopics at large, there are like enough kernels of truth in things early on for like the first half of the movie can sort of loosely function as a biopic. And then, at a certain point, things just take a hard turn and we go into something truly insane.
Yeah, exactly. Just like what Al does.
And
So
I mean, and I also had the same reaction that you had of like, oh, of course, this is what the Weird Al movie needs to be. It couldn't have been anything but this. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just so much fun. Honestly, and the cast is awesome. I was so taken aback by Evan Rachel Wood as Madonna. When she first arrived on set for the first day, and you're both in character, dressed in those awesome costumes. What was going through your mind?
I mean, I had been filming for a few days by that point. So I would think I was kind of used to me, and, and everyone else was sort of used to me walking around looking like that, I guess, at that point. But Evan came on, and it was like, holy, yeah, it was, she's so good. Like, the job they did, like costume, makeup, and hair, was incredible. But like the way she personified it, and her voice, and just the way she like went about playing the character is so, and she's so funny, and
Yeah.
and to be able to like work with her on all those. She's also somebody, like, we both started acting very, very young, and so there was some kind of like, I don't know, we have a very similar mindset, I think, at work, and our first day together was doing a lot of the like crazy making out stuff, and that stuff could feel very awkward, or because it's, I mean, in the case of this song, it's so crazy that it's not even particularly awkward. It's just funny. It's like how hard can we make out while also trying to knock this painting off a wall or something. But yeah, no, she was an amazing like scene partner, and just, yeah, great to work with.
And there was even more obviously in the pool scene with all these awesome actors playing these characters like Divine and Andy Warhol and so on and so forth. I can't really imagine how much fun it looks like. A lot of fun, but what was that? Was it fun? Was it crazy? What first comes to mind?
The pool scene.
Yeah.
I mean, the pool scene was just, I don't know, an awareness of what a terrible hit the comedy world would take if something bad happened on set that day. Like, it was a call sheet that was just, it was insane. And I've done some big stuff, and it was still like, holy mother of God, this from Conan to the guys from Lonely Island to just there was so many people in that day. Emo Phillips, like, it was it was incredibly cool. But it was the whole shoot, like, that was like probably a 7 or 8 page scene, and that wasn't all we had to do that day. Like, we had, this shoot was so fast, and we had like other stuff to do. So as with everything, that scene was kind of a blur. I will say that the people that absolutely made that scene happen were the background, because they were standing, it was like the first cold day in LA in ages, and they were standing in a pool in nothing, a lot of people. And also like the makeup and hair and costume, again, like pulling off the like historically accurate celebrity looks while and for all the background as well as all the cast, like, this film was amazing to work on, because so many people just like turned up and brought their A game in all departments to be able to make it happen. The whole thing was like 18 days, so it was,
I can't believe it was done in 18 days. That's like that's the indiest of indie kind of schedules. What was that? Just in complete insanity. I mean, obviously it had to be so well organized, but wow.
What was really remarkable about it was that it didn't feel rushed. Like, there was,
Really?
we only went over by like half an hour on one day. Like, the AD team, Emily Newman, our first AD, and also our director, Eric Appel, like, you can't pull that off unless you are so prepared and know exactly what you want to do and how you're going to achieve it. And he did. He was incredible. I cannot say enough great things about Eric.
So when you're portraying a real life person, and this film can be different because you can go in another direction, it's a comedy, but you still have to approximate him somehow. How important is it to ensure your portrayal is authentic in some way or true to life, but avoiding parody yourself or mimicry? Because unless that's what you're trying to go for, like, what was going through your mind in preparing for that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not like a particularly good mimic. So like, that was something that very early on I was like, this is going to be, and I think reading the script, like, there is permission in the version of Al that we're doing for it to be a loose interpretation and a kind of capturing of like the spirit, rather than like completely sort of accurate impersonation. So I think on this job, that it was less of a concern, and it was much more just like absorbing as much of like his music and watching like old recordings of him, or like his show back in the 90s, or UHF, and just like trying to just channel what you could through the version of Al that's in the script. I did also learn, or try to start learning, the accordion, because you're playing Weird Al in the Weird Al movie. It seems just like a best efforts thing of, you should just at least give that a go. And it's, I can report it's really, really hard. And not that I ever thought that it looked easy, but my respect for like watching Al run around on stage playing it and singing is it's an incredibly skillful thing to be able to do.
It's an instrument that I don't think is given enough credit, and let's put that out on the record.
I think it's having a good year. There was a couple of I've seen some questions on it about Jeopardy recently. It got a couple of mentions. People talking about playing it. We've got this movie. I feel like, yeah, it's definitely a renaissance.
The Accordion Association of America is very grateful for your service.
Well,
So what I
definitely.
also really loved about this, and I've spoken to a few actors in the past who have had this privilege, is when Al was involved, obviously, in production and was probably quite available to you. That doesn't happen all the time. What was I guess what most surprised you about portraying him and having him available with you?
I mean, honestly, like he was just, you know, the thing you always hear, Al is one of those people that you hear about as being like the nicest person, and he doesn't disappoint at all. So I think I was really not necessarily surprised by, but excited and kind of taken by how into the whole filmmaking process he was, and like how much he seemed to be, because I've made films before about real people and they've been on set for them, and it's been fantastic to have them there, but it does like add a layer of pressure, particularly if it's like not a comedy and you're recounting like very dramatic things from these people's lives. And yeah, but like having Al on set for this was just a joy. He was obviously a producer and a co-writer on the film, but he was also just, I don't know, there was nobody on the crew who was like indifferent to Al's music. Like everyone working on the film were like fans. So to have him there, like kind of cheering us all on every day and seeming to really enjoy what we were making was, yeah, I don't know. It made it was very, very cool.
You know, one comment that I've been hearing a bit, and I totally agree with this, again, not expecting it at all, is that his comedy is really earnest in some ways. There's not a lot of like, it's not facetious or sarcastic. It's not negative. And your portrayal really, really captures that. Like for the first 30 seconds, I'm like, okay, where are we going with this? And then I completely forgot that you were Daniel Radcliffe playing Weird Al Yankovic. I was just so in it. What do you think about that earnestness that Al brings to pop culture that you were able to capture?
I think that's absolutely a part of Al's success and what is so kind of infinitely charming about him. But I think it's that there is something incredibly, like as you say, earnest and wholesome about him in a lot of ways. And like, you know, particularly the early stuff, like so many of those songs are like about food. Like it's not something that anyone is going to listen to and be offended. But at the same time, there's like the weirdness is genuine. Like it's not contrived, because as I just said, the early songs were about food. Like that's also very odd in itself. Like you know, there is yeah, I think the genuine sense of like weirdness and danger and kind of anarchy about him, whilst also having like ultimately like a sweetness and a very, very sort of kind worldview and spirit is yeah, I think that's what makes him who he is and what makes so many people like love him, and he's why he's so enduring.
So was that really already very evident in the script that you were just able to tap into to bring that out in your own performance?
I think so. I think I'm also pretty earnest. I get told I am a lot. So like, there's probably just like a bit of that in me that I was able to enhance, I guess. But yeah, I think a lot of it, you know, a lot of it is there in the script. I mean, Eric and Al did such an amazing job of like, as you say, walking that line between the parody of the biopic and just its own insane story that we're telling.
The first laugh out loud moment from the film for me was when he's kind of whispering, make up new words to songs that don't exist, and it's so inspirational and aspirational, and then you got to remember, just listen to what he's talking about, and then of course with the ambition and hope in your eyes, it leads to the genesis of my Bologna. My Bologna, sorry, that is so fantastic. What did you think about that particular scene?
I mean, I love that scene, like covers one of my favorite like musical movie tropes, which is the like instant inspiration from something in your immediate vicinity, and just like coming up with a song kind of fully formed on the spot. So yeah, I love that. So I think that was also like day 1 or 2 of the shoot, so it was very, very early on. And yeah, it's and I also think the guys in that scene, the guys who play the band, are all so fantastic, and the way it like devolves into just the madness of like one of the shots that like makes me laugh more than anything in the film is Jack Lancaster break smashing plates in the background of that scene. I don't know, it gets me every time. There's just something about he's like doing it really like lackadaisically and like it's sort of but like really into it. It's just an amazing moment. All those guys, the cast that we got to work with on this film was everyone just came in and was awesome.
And yeah, I totally agree. Like the kind of scene is so good. But my favorite one, apart from the pool scene, is the fight sequence in the diner. I can only assume that there's some really good stunt double work in that, unless you are just I mean, but still like
I was able to do like little bits and pieces in there, but no, my stunt double was Andrew. I it's been a few months, but I'm gonna blame the newborn baby if I'm forgetting. But he was Andrew, and he was incredible. The whole stunt team, like we shot that scene was another one where it was like I think we shot that whole scene in like 4.5 hours, and it was we got some rehearsal time as well, which it always nobody ever wants to set aside time to do rehearsal, but it was so worth it. And yeah, I also got to the guy who comes out at the end, the massive guy, is a guy called Thomas Johnson, who he was in Lost City with me as well, with so we've now worked together twice, and we like got very close on that film, and then I had the pleasure of beating him up and him beating me up on this one. So yeah, it was very, very fun. But yeah, the stunt team were just awesome.
Yeah, when he comes out at the end with the fry pan and you end up grilling his face literally and then ringing that bell and saying order up, I laughed so hard. Like that.
So stupid. It's just like it's really nice to like do a job where the memory of doing something still makes you laugh like a year and a bit later. Like it was very fun.
Very cool. My final question is just a requisite one that you get all the time, but as playing Harry Potter for 10 years of your life, as a much younger man, how do you wrap your head around how significant a pop culture icon that character is, and consequently you'll always in some way be attached to him, even when you're an old man, it'll still be happening. What does that mean?
I mean, this is the first line of my obituary. We know that now. I mean, I don't think being in the middle of it, in some ways you're not best positioned to see how huge a phenomenon it is, because when I think of it, I think of like the very specific personal memories I have of like making them and things like that. But it's lovely. Like, I mean, it is truly to be famous or known for something that is such a lovely part of a lot of people's childhoods, and to be associated with something that's like meant so much to so many people it really is like it's a lovely thing. And I think I can appreciate it more and more as I'm getting older. I think at the time, or sort of in the immediate aftermath, I was like so concerned about not being able to be an actor outside of Potter, and didn't know if that was going to happen yet. That now that I've sort of got a few years of having done that under my belt, I can really like appreciate how lovely it is to be known for those films.
You've done such a great job in terms of choosing what you have done over the last few years. I think a lot of people now really associate you with comedy as well as that fantasy stuff from your earlier career. And mate, this film is so good. It's so funny, and you are incredible in it. And congratulations on a really, really great performance.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And yeah, really, really lovely to talk to you today. It was fun.